we are seeing take place in these last days. The first place we're going to be taking a look at is the Greater Church of Lucifer, which is a fully recognized Luciferian church that is now operating in
Test in prayer outside of Spring's newest church, the Greater Church of Lucifer. Tonight is the group's first meeting at its first building, smack dab in the middle of Old Town Spring.
Now, the signs and symbols that are in this satanic church, the idol that they have on Baphomet, and their logo or their seal that has the upside down Illuminati all-seeing eye and pyramid, as well as it going off down into two X's, the seal of Saturn. These are the same signs and symbols that we see permeating our culture. Now, this church professes to be of the devil, and these are the same things that we see around us in entertainment and the media. God's word tells us that we are of him, and this whole world lieth in wickedness. This Illuminati all-seeing eye pyramid that is popping up all inside of music videos and movies and cartoons and television shows is all of the Antichrist spirit. It is Satan promoting his agenda in the world through the media that people are consuming on a daily basis. The idols of this day are the movie stars, are the sports players, are the new and up-and-coming artists. These are the idols, and they are all pointing unto the idol that is to come, the Antichrist. They are all preparing the way for the man of sin. This is a key component of the satanic uprising that is taking place right now. Many people won't go to a satanic church. I would say the majority won't go there. But you know what? Most people will pop in a Jay-Z album and listen to it, and he is teaching the same exact satanic doctrines and philosophies of Aleister Crowley's "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," as well as the same exact signs and symbols. So Satan is a deceiver. He has been a liar from the very beginning, and right now that is what he is doing, deceiving the nations.
We have gatherings, but they're not services. We don't preach.
Contrary to popular belief, co-president Michael W. Ford says they don't sacrifice animals or worship the devil.
Right here is one of the key deceptions. They say that these people don't actually worship the devil. Well, I understand that they follow a Luciferian philosophy and that these new Satanists don't actually believe in a literal devil, but it doesn't matter whether they believe in Satan or not. Satan does not need you to believe in him to be worshiping him. You see, when you reject Jesus Christ, you accept Antichrist. You accept yourself as God. You accept whatever false god you want to, but you have been deceived by the devil.
And they're not here to convert anyone.
They just believe that that's what happens, and that's what they spew. We're having the first opening of the Greater Church of Lucifer as a physical building, one of the first of its kind. There's no other that I'm aware of legal operating Luciferian churches. We're here as a philosophy based around what we call the 11 Luciferian points of power, where people gather and discuss philosophy and how to apply it. We have an absolute right to be here legally. People, I always feel sorry for so-called Christians who feel so insecure in their belief that they have to come out here and waste their time when they're not going to change our mind and we're not going to change theirs.
So I just want to make this clear. In this video, I do not oppose Satanists' ability to worship or their free will or their choice to choose the way of the devil. God has given man free will. He has given us the ability not to be autonomous robots, but to have our own choices and decisions. So that is not what this video is about. What it is about is reproving the unfruitful works of darkness. This is wickedness that is going on in our country. This gentleman's comment right here is kind of humorous. He says, "I always feel bad for Christians who are so insecure in their faith that they have to come out and try and protest against us." Listen, we don't speak out against your lies because we're insecure. We speak out against your lies, first of all, because we believe what we're talking about. This is the way, the truth, and the life. It is the truth. So we are going to stand up to lies when we hear them that are trying to deceive people and direct them to hell. We're not coming out and speaking against this because we're insecure. We're speaking about it because we believe what we're saying. Secondly, we love you. Even though you have rejected Jesus Christ, even though you would be considered our enemy, we, as the Samaritan, want to warn you that you are heading to destruction. We do not want to see you go there. Please, step off the broad path.
celebrate the spirit of humanity in the dawn of a new American era. In a season when many commemorate the birth of Christ, we commemorate our own Genesis, the enlightenment of all humanity, a revelation of our nature as written in the annals of history, a gift from Lucifer, the light bringer, the morning star, and the rebel. We are Satanists. We engender moral, spiritual, and sexual freedom, personal independence, and insist upon personal choice in all things. We care for the significance of the individual spirit and personal moral responsibility. If you stand here today and embrace your nature, are free-thinking, self-governed, and godless, you too are a Satanist in the eyes of many in your own community, including those who represent you in your governments. We are also Americans. We are seeking collaborators, individuals for a visionary satanic alliance, leaders of the new American era. And it is time to awaken. Do you want to be part of a sleeping world?
No!
Do you want to gorge on the drug of the commonplace?
No!
Will you forever remain addicted to the oppressive traditions of a counterfeit morality?
No!
Well, we must tell those people who represent us. As we stand on the crossroads of history, let us confront the blind and self-righteous, the persecutors of thought and reason. Let us rise up in celebration of our satanic nature and cast our chains into the dust of hell. The word of God has been evoked time and time again to justify the opposition to civil rights movements, to squash women's liberation. We have to do more when women are denied access to reproductive health care and vilified as murderers.
Yeah!
To represent them in the government. Satanic America has heard your call to action. If religion is to lead in areas which have traditionally been left to a secular democracy, we will do our duty too, to bring the insights of our satanic practice to the State House, to the courthouse, to schools, and of course, homes and businesses of America.
Yes!
Wherever and whenever diverse religious guidance is needed. All hail the new American era. An America that embraces our fellow neighbors with the integrity of their character rather than the God to whom they pray. An America where we stand to defend justice and honor for our brothers and sisters regardless of whom they call husband or wife and regardless of their personal bodily choices. Comrades, we are just as powerful as those who work in this institution here. Those who wish to uphold the traditions of old feel us breathing down their necks. And we will continue to be the voice of reason to ensure that our America remains free and equal. All hail the eternal rebel within all of us. To liberty, humanity, and justice. To the satanic emancipator and end of repressive traditions. Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
And the third abomination that brings judgment in the Bible calls the gods and idols of the nations abomination. When a nation drives out God, it's never neutral. It always brings in other gods. So as we've driven God out, this thing just appeared this August in New York City after the Supreme Court ruled. On the Empire State Building is the projection of a false and foreign god. It is probably the largest image of a false god in the history of man. That's the Hindu god Kali. This god is the god of darkness. Kali is also the god of death and destruction here over in New York City. I believe a great shaking is coming. We are racing to judgment.
Teaching Satanism in schools sounds like the stuff of horror movies, but a US court ruling on religious freedoms has enabled devil worshippers in Florida to hand out educational material about their beliefs to kids at state schools. Marina Portnaya has this report.
Public education in America often uses coloring books to teach young Americans about math, science, and current events. This year, a new book filled with games and lessons about Satanism could be distributed to students attending public school in Florida's Orange County. The 10-page Satanic Children's Big Book of Activities features characters named Annabelle and Damien who demonstrate rituals to explain Satanism. This expanding wealth of information for America's young minds was made possible after a Florida judge last month ruled that if the Orange County School District allowed Christian groups to disseminate Bibles and other materials in its schools, then other religious and atheist groups should be given the same right to distribute their material. And followers of the Antichrist seized on the decision to treat all faiths equally. A spokesman for the Satanic Temple tells Raw Story that, quote, if a public school board is going to allow religious pamphlets and full Bibles to be distributed to students, as is the case in Orange County, Florida, we think the responsible thing to do is to ensure that these students are given access to a variety of different religious opinions, as opposed to standing idly by while one religious voice dominates the discourse and delivers propaganda to youth, unquote. In a ruling that was aimed at maintaining religious neutrality, students who may never have intended to learn about Christianity, atheism, or Satanism will now receive an introduction to all three. Marina Portnaya.
Brian and Susan, good evening. Some of the unsung heroes in all of this are the 911 dispatchers. And the kids wouldn't be going back to school. Told her, the report says, quote, she would see what he was talking about on the news. She last spoke with him at 8:30 that night before the murders took place.
2 cars have been shot up. There's 3 people in 1 car, and 1 guy is not moving.
Newly released dashcam video shows how it all ended. A calm Jason Dalton pulled over, pulled out of his car, and arrested. In his pocket, a 9mm Walther brand handgun with an extended clip. He was escorted to the police cruiser, police say, silently staring straight ahead as they asked him basic questions, and he ignored. Just before 1 a.m., the terror was over. Aside from coordination between multiple law enforcement,
claims that she was attacked because of an internet character known as Slenderman. That's the same character that police in Wisconsin say motivated 2 12-year-old girls to nearly kill their friend. And as Karen Johnson reports, a Cincinnati woman now believes he influenced her daughter as well.
Her mother says her writings and drawings have always been dark. They reference demons, being insane, falling into darkness. But never did the 13-year-old's mother imagine her daughter would want to become one of the characters she frequently referenced.
I came home one night from work, and she was in the kitchen waiting for me, and she was wearing a white mask. She had her hood up, and she had her hands covered with the sleeves and the mask.
She also had a knife and began attacking her mother right there in the kitchen.
And mentioned playing a role. I got the feeling she was playing a role. It didn't feel like her.
Now, after hearing about the 2 Wisconsin 12-year-olds accused of stabbing their friend 19 times because they wanted to please Slenderman, this mom thinks the fictional horror character also had an influence on her daughter.
We found things that she had written, and she made reference to Slenderman. She also made some references to, killing. She even had created a world for Slenderman in Minecraft, in that game Minecraft.
Stories of Slenderman often feature him stalking or traumatizing people. But in this case, fantasy turned into reality, and this mom says it should be a wake-up call for all parents.
We do have to police what they do and what they read.
Churches and Christian groups, the largest public satanic ceremony in history, happening right here in Detroit. 7 Action News reporter Jane Park is live with us tonight. Jane, organizers went to great lengths to keep this a private, exclusive party. What's up?
They really did, Dave. Now, we are standing along Grand River, and the building behind me was where guests originally came, but shortly after they were let in, they were told to go to a second undisclosed location where we're to believe that party is going on right now. The Satanic Temple made it very clear it would be their members and their guests and not our cameras that will be getting a first look at this much talked about statue. The lines ran along the graffitied walls, at least 100 people eagerly waiting for what's been kept well under wraps.
It said dress like an animal or wear horns and tails.
Some drove in from as far as upstate New York to see the Satanic Temple unveil a 9-foot-tall bronze statue of a goat-headed Satan.
It just seemed like it would be a historic event.
The guests came dressed to impress. Each paid at least $25 for a ticket. Security inside was tight. No cameras or media allowed in. No cell phones and photographs allowed. The secretive nature of the event didn't prevent a few protesters from attending.
We figured, well, if they're going to unveil a statue and show a statue, well, we're going to show the statue that beat this statue behind the scenes in reality. That's, recounted in the St. John's Apocalypse that St. Michael and his angels defeated Lucifer and his angels.
Members of the Satanic Temple, who say they stand for the separation of church and state, kept mum Saturday night, focused instead on showing their guests a good time. Some came out of curiosity, others just to appreciate the art. And they say don't knock it just because it's not your taste.
A sculpture or a piece of art or a tribute to something that they don't understand is not necessarily going to impact their religion or their beliefs.
There was so much buzz about the night, Detroit police set up outside just to make sure the Satanists and the naysayers stayed civil.
We support anyone's First Amendment right to practice whatever religion they want or to come out and protest against that, their freedom of speech. So, we're there to basically protect the rights of everyone involved.
In the end, the group made good on its promise to make this an exclusive event. Guests patient enough to make it through the line were promptly sent out the back door where outsiders can only imagine the real party awaits. A party, we're told, is supposed to last well beyond midnight. As for the statue, it could end up at the Arkansas State Capitol, where there is a 10 Commandments statue also planned. Live near downtown Detroit, Jane Park, 7 Action News.
To see the unveiling of a satanic statue.
Very controversial story, much of it still shrouded in mystery. Fox 2's Dave Spencer joining us with that story.
Behind me is the building where ticket holders of the Satanic Temple of Detroit were told to come see an unveiling of sorts, a statue. But once they got here, they were told there is no statue here. In fact, we tried to go in and see for ourselves. We were told that our cameras were not allowed. We talked to people as they were leaving the event. They told they were merely given instructions to another location where possibly the statue was being held for its own protection. They wanted to keep that a secret. No matter where you stand on this issue, it's one that's igniting passion on both sides. It was raw passion and belief on display for public consumption. And this demonstration was a protest of the plans of the Satanic Temple of Detroit.
Most of the people here agree with the teachings of the Satanic Temple, the group responsible for the event.
It's here, it's in Detroit, and this is fantastic that we get to experience this and we get to see this amazing statue be unveiled for all the world to see.
Many tell us they feel misunderstood and are quick to point out they do not worship the devil.
Mostly about individuality. So the one thing I don't like is the backlash, but they have no knowledge or have no ears open to listen to it.
In the name of Jesus! Lord, remove them. Protesters took the heavy rainfall as some sort of sign and even brought their own statue of an angel crushing the devil.
For them to come out and want to make a statement that all of this is horrible, it's rotten, they don't, I feel sorry for them. I really, really feel sorry for them.
I think it's like an unabashedly anti-Christian event, but, I have no problem with that, just like I don't really have a problem with protesters standing outside telling me I'm going to go to hell.
The unveiling here in Detroit is historic. The Satan statue has never before been seen publicly. The Satanic Temple says the statue is a symbol for what they advocate, the separation of church and state.
Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshipped the dragon who gave authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. All who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If anyone has an ear, let him hear.